So for awareness now, we are recording this meeting. All right, Abe, we'll start again, please.
This is Vice Chairman Commissioner Thompson calling from afar and calling this meeting to order. And please read the roll.
Okay, Commissioner Rotan. Here. Commissioner Mikulich. Here. Commissioner Mailer.
Here.
Commissioner Kessler. Not here yet. Commissioner Robbins is might be late, may not be a show at all. Commissioner Mackey.
Here.
Commissioner Seltzer.
Here.
Commissioner Ward. Doesn't appear to be here. And Commissioner Thompson.
Here.
You are all present and accounted for, and you have a quorum.
Perfect. Next, Abe, sir.
Call for a safety minute.
How about we do the Pledge of Allegiance, Abe, if we could do that?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody.
Everybody's saying their own thing.
Now let's call on Paul Rodkis for the safety minute.
Good morning. Everybody uses extension cords in here, and now we're coming up into the season where people plug their vehicles in. So a lot of times, and I'm sure everyone has actually done this, is when you plug in an appliance at home, you don't plug it in all the way. Or if you plug in your vehicle, it does not plug in all the way. Well, what happens is when it's not plugged in all the way, the current builds up some resistance, gives off heat, and this is what happens right here. Here's one of the ends of an extension cord that we plugged one of our heavy equipment into outside. It wasn't plugged in all the way. So with that, make sure that whatever you plug into a receptacle or your extension cords on your car or anything, that it's positively plugged all the way, because that's what can happen to it right there. That's some real world.
Let's do a science project. Hold it up to that camera so everybody online can see that ugly looking thing.
How does that look?
That's ugly.
Thank you.
Not you, Paul.
And
This is a new one on me. That's a great safety moment.
good, I'm glad you liked it. You
Never knew
mentioned
that.
And one last thing, I want to, it's no surprise for the port staff, but on May 1st, I'll be retiring of 2024. Yeah, it's that
For you.
Thank you.
How many years?
It'll be 30 years in PERS. It'll be 16 down here at the port, and it's been great.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Retirement.
Oh, thank you.
It's the last time you get to bring that up.
Yes. Have a good meeting.
All right, thank you, Paul. We have, you've all had a chance to look at the agenda. Are there any changes that the commission wishes to make? Hearing none, the agenda stands approved as written. Approval of the July 5, 2023 meeting minutes. Do we want to read the minutes? Has everyone had a chance to look them over?
We've seen them.
Motion to approve the minutes.
I would entertain a motion to approve.
Commissioner Mailer. Approve.
Second? Is there a second? Who is
Second.
it?
Commissioner Mikulich, second.
Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
And Mr. Chair,
Yes.
There are also minutes from the May 3rd meeting that were not approved at the last meeting because you didn't have quorum. So we carried it over to this one, and they should be in your packets for the commissioners if you'd like to add to the order of the day approval of the May 3rd, 2023 minutes as well.
I would entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Commissioner Mankiewicz. And a second, Commissioner Mailer.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries, minutes approved. Next item, Port Director comments.
Sure, I have a few I'd like to make, and then I will turn everything over to the staff to give you your updates. So let me start by introducing our new port staff member, new port engineer, Mike Rhodes.
Mike.
We
Welcome,
successfully poached Mike from Solid Waste Services. Just get somebody down here to get a breath of the fresh salt air, and it's way too easy to get folks to come down here. So Mike comes with a lot of experience, and I don't know if he's finished drinking from the fire hose yet, but he's been in the thick of things from jump. So I'm happy to have him because now I don't have to practice engineering without a license anymore. I can actually turn it over to somebody that knows what they're doing. So welcome, Mike.
Welcome.
Thanks. Unfortunately, she's not here, and I didn't get a how come she's not here from Stephanie, but Stephanie Kessler is our new port commissioner. She is actually back in the fold. This was going to be my welcome back. Stephanie was on the commission for a while. She's been off for maybe about 2 years now, and saw that we had a vacancy coming when Garrett left, and reapplied, and darn if she didn't get scarfed up. So the nice thing about that is Stephanie doesn't have to climb the learning curve. She knows what we do for a living, and I'm very happy to have her back. She also lives on Government Hill, so we get that little bit of Government Hill intel when it comes to some of the issues that we're working down here. So, and she's got a pretty level head, so she's easy to deal with, and appreciate that.
Have her back.
I'll make a apologies for Ronnie Poole, who's representing us at the Harbor Master Conference in Ketchikan this week. So when we come to Ronnie's speaking part on the agenda, I've got a few things I'll mention there. And the last thing I wanted to mention, and I think all the port commissioners, welcome.
Sorry, I'm late.
You missed the whole speech.
Security, I'm sorry.
I almost got misty-eyed introducing you.
Oh, I missed it.
And you missed it, and you missed it.
Thank you.
I'll let the record show that Commissioner Kessler
Finally
has
showed
joined
up.
us. So now you really have a quorum.
Yes.
I'm
Only there.
so sorry.
Okay. Yeah, so item last for me is just to give you guys if it was yesterday or the day before yesterday, I forget, I sent to you a copy of the email I sent to the assembly regarding the Ship Creek small boat launch and what's not going to be on the port's capital budget for the FY24 season. At the assembly meeting last night, I got waylaid a little bit by several assembly members. The comments were not, you got to be out of your mind, which you could sometimes expect. But actually the comments were, I don't know how to handle this. And there's a lot of information in that email. Why don't we just have a meeting and talk about it? So the assembly, the Enterprise Utility Oversight Committee meeting of the assembly, which is a committee of the whole. So everybody who's on the assembly is on that committee, is going to put it on the agenda for their next meeting in October. So get an opportunity to get down and dirty on that matter there. And you all heard where I was coming from on this. It's a pricey undertaking to keep that place open and keep it from eroding away for a very, very small user community. who contributes relatively nothing to covering the cost of it, which puts the burden on the user fees that you all who are port users pay down here, so that we can cover those costs out of our fund balance. And that's one issue that has rubbed me the wrong way for a lot of years, but I sort of had to live with it because we had a lease with the railroad for the property. And now we don't. The lease expired on August 2022. So we are technically unable to spend any more money down there, which has now stirred the pot with with that one small group of user community that really benefits from the place, which is the set netters, who are pushing real hard for it to get reopened. And and if it's gonna get reopened, I'm pushing real hard for it to be on somebody else's dime, not the ports.
Sounds to me like it better be Parks and Rec.
Right.
Yeah, and I had that conversation with Mike Braniff over at Parks and Rec, and they want no part of it. Because boat launches, and I can't argue with them, because boat launches up and down the Deshka and the Kenai and all of that are not managed by those kinds of, they're managed by the local jurisdictions. Whatever municipality, borough, or what have you, that boat launch happens to fall in. But nobody else's Parks and Recreation Department deals with it. The state's Fish and Game doesn't manage them either. So it's an interesting conundrum to come up with a solution.
Yeah, I would think that the expertise, unfortunately, lies within this organization. But if we end up with it again, we should be getting funding from, I think of it as a municipal service. I don't think that, people who use it, we discussed this, they can't make it up in user fees, but it's a valued municipal service, and it should be covered by the municipality as a whole, not the port users.
Right.
Yeah.
And another wrinkle, interestingly enough, is, the set netters, they're all licensed commercial fishermen. So putting the burden on the public sector to manage and maintain that place is we are subsidizing a public sector undertaking.
I wonder if it wouldn't be better suited for the Matsu with someplace that had a place to actually dock boats. I think you would have people willing to dock their boat if they could leave it permanently and, run to home or run to,
That's not gonna work though.
even on that side, on the deep side.
No, you still have sedimentation issues.
So it's going to be on the Enterprise Utility Oversight Committee agenda for their next meeting. I will inform the commission that it's going to be there. So any of you that would like to come and sit in the cheering section for us, we'd welcome the help.
Just as a heads up, I know people who are set netters who use it, but I also know people who are not set netters who use it.
Yeah.
So I would be careful about saying that it's all set
No,
netters.
and I know it's not. I know it's not.
Yeah, I mean, I know people who, I grew up here and it never dawned on me that I could just get a boat, go down, launch my little boat, go over to Fire Island or wherever, I was raised to be terrified of that water, so I still am.
And the challenge is, it's dry 12 hours out of every day.
Right. Yes.
So you've got to know what you're doing, to launch and get back when there's water in it, or you're out there for 12 plus hours waiting for this water back, until there's water back in it. So,
You used to have some up to the creek, right? Like to that little dock right there at the bridge. That's where you get in and out right there.
So anyway, this is going to be an interesting one for the assembly to wrestle with. But the first order of business, absent all of this conversation, is the Muni's got no lease with the railroad. So we've got no obligation to do anything there until there's another lease, or the railroad decides to take it over, or the city decides they're done managing a boat launch. So more to come on that.
I think the railroad would run screaming from the room.
Yeah, I've got,
They've been very clear. They want nothing.
I got one more question.
No surprise.
On it. So I know a commercial fisherman who's set netter, and he's gonna ask me, where do I go? Who do I talk to? Is that the assembly? Is that because, I mean, if we don't have a lease, it's not us, right? Like it's.
It's not us. It's not us. I legally, we legally have no responsibility for it until there is another lease. And then it becomes, well, now who in the community has the responsibility for it? Does it come back here or does it go to some other city department?
It's not only responsibility, we don't even have possession to do it. We don't have legal right to do it.
Yeah.
We don't possess it.
Right, I just want that sewer assembly.
Right, inform your assembly member of your concerns. He or she won't be the first. That has already started.
Steve, this is Aves. Before you move on, I want to commend you for the position that you've taken on this. I think it's the right one.
I appreciate that, Aves. It's not personal, it's business. And we have a $2 billion modernization program going on here. I can't see getting away with and saying with a straight face, I need to spend $6 million to repair the small boat launch. I just can't see doing it.
Well, beyond that,
Let's move on.
Yes.
Staff reports?
Okay, well, I guess I'm gonna play Ronnie Poole, and I will go first. So there's, 4 things I wanna mention real fast. So we had the MS Nordam cruise ship here last week, and impressive to see how everybody on the port pulled together, because the route of traffic for those motor coaches to get on and off the dock with all the big holes in the ground that we've had out here, with all the construction going on, what could have possibly gone wrong, and nothing did. So kudos to everybody, security included, the ops staff, and our friends at Holland American Princess for all pulling together to get that ship in and out of here as uneventfully as you can under the circumstances. I think that's the last one of the year.
It is.
Yeah, second and last of the year. So we're glad that went off without a hitch. At 4 o'clock in the morning yesterday, the 4th cement delivery out of 5 left the PCT. So the PCT's been open for business as far as ABI is concerned. I'm concerned, they're going to get a little lackadaisical because they have the place to themselves. Wait till they have to start sharing it with the petroleum guys. Won't that be fun to watch? So that's for coming down the pipe. But another uneventful port call with respect to any adverse impacts port infrastructure or the port might have had on their business, but they lost, I think it was 70 something hours for the rain. And so that's a 3-day delay for rain only on their port call here.
I had forgotten about that. This must have been a tough summer.
Yeah, it has been. They've had some, I think the last port call, it was somewhere between 40 and 50 hours worth of rain delays. And the stunner for me is they got one more. And I remember the last time we got this close to winter and the cement ship was over here at Peel 1, ballast water froze.
Yeah.
That was exciting. So that, that will be
pushing it this time.
Yeah, that will be something to keep an eye out for. Okay. Ronnie also said to share that the guys are gearing up for winter operations. Okay, we've still got our handshake deal with our friends down at North Star to keep our sand undercover down there while we execute construction of a facility to store our own again, since we took the spot away by building a new office building and haven't quite built the new one yet. So we're getting some help from North Star on that, which we deeply appreciate. And for Commissioner Mankulich, who brought it to our attention, the fender at T2, we're taking a good hard look at what the consequences of that is. I don't know if Mike's been out there yet to take a look at that fender, the one we had pictures of.
oh, not yet.
Yeah, so we're gonna get out there, and I don't think it's a new one, but as I look at it, I think it's one of the fenders that we may have lost the pilings at the bottom to corrosion, and it's hanging by the chains, which is why we chained them all to the dock, because we knew this day was coming. And just so everybody knows what the plan is going forward, because it's in, it's in a part of the dock that has to be around for a little bit longer, but it costs a little over $100,000 to fix one of those things. Is if we can pull the fender out and it has no adverse impact dock operations, and we're just gonna pull the fender out. But if it's one that is critical for actually docking the ship, target fenders in particular, if it's one of those and it's in that kind of a place, then we will repair those. Because we don't wanna, we don't wanna have enough holes where teeth used to be on the front of the dock where it's unsafe to come in. But I'd like to minimize the amount of money we're spending on those because we're getting very close to when the wrecking ball is gonna swing on the old and the new is gonna get built. Okay, so more to come on that. And that's my Ronnie talk for today.
Okay, Mike?
As Steve mentioned before, introducing me, thanks for the warm welcome, everybody. Again, my name is Mike Rhodes. I've been with the community for about 6 years now, so I'm on week 3 here at the port. So trying to pick up where Brian left off. I guess a few major things that I'm getting into here with projects that are going on. I won't steal the thunder from Jim on the funding source for but there's a large storm drain project coming up to basically repair and rebuild the storm drain systems here around the port. I don't know the specifics on the funding source. Maybe Jim, you can. I'm sure it's on your list.
Storm drains 1, 2, and 5 are basically going to be reconstructed in the next couple of years. And we now have funding to move forward with that starting next summer. So that process has got to start right now because since it's federal funding we got, it requires a new one. So we're starting that process like yesterday.
So storm drain system 1, we're in negotiations with the proposer to get that under contract. Storm drain system 2, we're going to put out an RFP here in the next month. So, other than that, working on the Track J access road is another big one. I think that's definitely a priority for the board. So, and then just picking up all the little projects that Brian has going on. So,
John Daly? Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, so the PAMP, the modernization program, has quite a few things going on. We can start with PCT. That's the warranty period is over. It's the 5th or 6th of October. So there's a lot of work to get a list of all the warranty items in front of the contractor for reconciliation. There's some leftover funding that we're trying to spend down, federal funding. That will ultimately be Mike's project, but I'm kind of helping with that. So there's a half a dozen small projects, some of them not so small, including paving in front of the PCP, and doing a little bit of work in the POVI and some other things. So those are coming. We're kind of queuing those up. So we've done some preliminary design on a few of those. So that's PCT. The admin building, you drove by that, that's going along pretty good. We had some challenges. They went to tie in the AWW water line, ran into some debris and contaminated soils. No surprise there. They do it every time. All those big blue square connexes are full of slightly contaminated water that they have to deal with. So there's a change order coming. There's layers of utilities in there, many of which are abandoned. So quite a bit of work with that. They're still just about done. They're having a hard time getting their checks now for the water line. But you can see the rest of the building's going up pretty well. They're getting most of the windows in, the exterior is on. They're inside working on the utilities on the inside. We have 2 other big pieces we're inserting into the mix. Are the municipal IT requirements. So how to get all of the Wi-Fi and the fiber optics and all that stuff included. Several different people are working on that, the contractor and the municipality and others. In the furniture, fixtures, and equipment plan, we just received a draft of that. We're going to put that up for RFP. So some of these items in this building will be salvaged and put in there. For example, this table, smart board, things like that. But then there's a lot of new furniture that goes in there
we have to get all that underway so that all this stuff converges in April. And we open the door and it all works. Right? What are the chances of that? I don't know. But
You know, you got an attractive staffers.
yeah. Yeah, and there's a lot of ways any one of those pieces can go sideways, so but we're trying to get that all to happen in April. I think you're gonna be able to flip the light switch and it all works, right? So, so that's the admin building. NES1, a North Extension stabilization. They're more or less complete with the ground stabilization, soil improvement. Some of you know they switched from deep soil mixing to jet grouting partway through because again, they ran into some obstacles underground. The deep soil mixing was an auger system where they replaced and mixed in concrete. When they ran into debris, they couldn't finish that, so they used jets and jetted in concrete to make a similar structure, use a little more concrete. Theoretically, they're done. They need to test and verify the quality of that. They take core samples and test them. So they're finishing that piece. They're also now stockpiling armor rock and other material for next year. Next year is going to be the big work where, according to Manson, they're going to come up with 3 derrick barges, which should be pretty fun. Great big cranes and barges. And we'll just force that thing right out of the ground and do serious dredging and pull all the sheet piles out. That'll be pretty impressive work. Those guys have big toys there, so we're going to bring them up next year. So that's NES1. They're also undergoing permitting still and a little bit of testing. They have to complete NEPA. We have to sign a grant agreement. A lot of administrative stuff in the background, but that's all going forward. Then the other piece is the terminal design, which we've received a 35% design. Starting this afternoon, all day tomorrow, part of the day Friday, we're going to have meetings here, design review on that. It's going along fairly well, but that is, if you look at the issues we're having with the admin building, just multiply those by 10 or 15 for when they dig up all this waterfront, all those utilities, all that stuff. It's going to be a challenge. As part of the design, we are running into what we're calling design development items, which are small changes as we go forward. We're trying to understand, just more information comes forward, and we're trying to understand what all these things are. For example, we may be putting some POL lines, some petroleum lines alongside the trestle, which means we have to extend the pile caps. We realize we only have 2 now, so that currently for Matson, you know, the longshoremen park on the crane turnout and they walk out onto the dock. Well, if we have 2 trestles, those are encumbered by trucks and there won't be as good of a pedestrian access. So do we need to have a secondary pedestrian access for them? On and on and on. There's a whole list of these things we're working through. And that's just the way it is. So the middle of that. That's about all I have.
John, I have a question to follow up. Could you elaborate a little bit more on the PCT, particularly where we are with these valves and the replacement and when the expectation would be that we could actually use it? We spoke obviously of cement. That season will be over very soon, but for petroleum, the holdup, of course, with these valves, could you give us an update? There's a lot of users on the line that are interested in that.
I'm looking at Steve.
Yeah, John's deferring to me because we've actually signed for the facility. So it's on the port's books now. It's off the PAMP area to monitor kind of thing. So where we stand on that is, and everybody knows, I think we've talked about this, 7 valves that we found cracked. 6 of them on the PCT and 1 of them at the entry to the POVI. So those obviously have to be removed.
Are those brand new valves?
Yeah, brand new valves. Never seen an ounce of gasoline.
And a little bit of water.
Yeah. But they've seen a lot of water. And that's a conversation for another day with attorneys involved.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
But in the meantime, we've got to make this thing functional. So this week, I hope by the end of the week, because purchasing has all the information you need, the valves on order. And so they will be ordered, and when they get here, we'll stage them for installation.
You're doing an RFP,
Yeah.
so we're not gonna order until the RFP's closed. I
Okay.
just wanna make sure.
All right,
the
fine.
timing for everyone.
All right. So anyway, so that's happening. The other thing that has to be done, based on some conversations between petroleum users and us and Michael Baker, is to make more efficient the line stripping process. Because of the way the plumbing geometry is, there's an opportunity to trap more gasoline than you can strip out with the stripping pumps, the way it's designed. So what we're going to do is add some lines that lead off of the pipes as they, where they connect to the valves to push it into the POV to everybody else's. Connect those so that we can use the stripping lines to get everything that was left up to those MOVs, so that anybody pushing new product through is pushing their own and not the guy who was there before them is fueling
Right.
through those lines. So that's going to get done. That is, we're getting the 3 quotes on that, and that will either be an RFP or an ITB, depending upon what that comes back with. Do operations together, replace the valves and put those lines in at the same time, so that we only have to open the plumbing up once and get it all done. So that's the plan for doing that. In the meantime, we have to do this line soaking thing, which means we need gasoline. Marathon has agreed to supply the gas. I wish I could just say, okay, thanks, let's go for it. But that's not how government works. So we're in the process now of coming up with a memorandum of agreement on where the lines of responsibility for what we're going to do with this stuff lies. So the attorneys are involved. So Bob Owens is representing us, and he's been on the phone with the Marathon attorneys, looking at what all the indemnification, insurance requirements, and what the liabilities are for both parties for when we do this. And once all those dominoes are lined up, then we can push in first order of business after the valves are replaced and those stripping line pieces are put in, is to flood the lines, do our thing, succeed, and then open the place up for tankers and barges to use. So I'm optimistically going to say by the end of first quarter 24, we probably should be able to get all this in place, barring any unforeseen circumstances. And I've also reached out to Matson and Tote so that I can give some shipping options to the vendor for the valves, who have a contract with
FedEx.
No, not FedEx. They have a contract with Jim Jan's Alaska Marine Lines. And I said, no, I prefer they get here in 3 days than get here in 10 plus.
Right.
Especially given the time of year, we're talking about seeing them get into the shipping business.
Yes.
So I've got points of contact from Matson and Tote that I've shared with them and said, negotiate your shipping with somebody who I know is going to be here in 3 days as opposed to a week and a half, or if not longer.
So for planning, petroleum will use POL 1 and 2 for the winter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I did.
Any further questions for John or Steve? Carol, thank you guys.
I actually do have one question. If that's, how long are we looking before the thoroughway is open for trucks?
That's a job question.
Yeah, so they're having a heck of a time testing the AWWU line. And they're kind of secretive about it. I go over there, how come you're not done testing? We'll be done when we're done. And so they're testing it first, and then they have AWU come over and verify the test and sign off. There's a leak in there somewhere that's not cooperating with them. So they've been informed that they need it quickly, and everybody's really would like to vote back. But
I mean,
I'm thinking it should be this week.
Sunday and Tuesday, we got tour buses all day long.
And that's been communicated.
And that's really, it's not just an inconvenience for the truck drivers, but it's unsafe because you got people not paying attention coming out in little cars. And that's really the concern.
Well, I think the tourist use of all that area is done for the season?
I'm talking about people that work here.
Oh, people that work there, that drive like tourists. Noted. Okay, yeah, I got nothing, Chris, when it comes to that. That's a story that we've been trying to get people to understand for years. Yeah, but I get it. Yeah,
So it's a
I get it.
moderation. They're trying to get the test results confirmed by AWU and then they're done. But they haven't internally been happy enough to call AWU out and test it because they do it themselves first.
Okay, anything further? Cheryl?
Okay, so your financial report is in your packet. We can just run quickly through everything to see if anyone has any questions as we go along, please ask. The revenues are tracking with our budget. We're ahead as far as August goes. We tend to see, a little bit of a drop off, not a very linear revenue earnings towards the end of the year, but it all depends on the ships and how everything is scheduled to come in. So far we're doing great as of the end of August. There is personnel services is all of our labor. You'll see that's running slightly behind, and that's just due to our vacancy we had in the engineering spot, and I think we might have had one over in the maintenance department that might have given us a little bit of cushion in the personnel services line item. Non-labor is just what we've always discussed. It's all of the operating supplies and services that keep the port running. Our legal services are almost spent for the year, but I think Bob Owens pretty much managed, we chat and talk and make sure that we have enough money to pay the state marshal lawyers to be sure what of the work that they're doing. So we feel like that's on track, and we'll do just fine getting to the end of the year with the remaining funds. The MEAS has been paid, and your dividend, the port's dividend has been paid. Debt service, COC, is quite a large number, but we're moving right along, and the revenues are supporting that, which is what the tariff structure was intended to do. So it's all very good for us. We have a big bond payment, principal and interest payment in December. So through the rest of the year, you won't see that. You'll see that monthly interest payments go up, but those payments are about $135,000 a month. So the big 1.7 million is in December.
What bond is that?
That's the 2020 revenue bond
Okay.
that we sold for the PCT.
Okay,
Yeah, $18 million.
big bond.
Yep, so really everything else, the depreciation and the charges, the IGCs come from general government. So, all told, we're kind of, we have some cash flow, positive cash flow, which is awesome. Everything else is pretty straightforward. Unless you have any questions about that, we can move on to the tonnage. The first section of boxes is your year-over-year comparison, which says what it was this year compared to what it was in the previous years as of August, right? So it's a very good comparison to see how we're tracking for the year. So slight decline. I don't know if we were taking wagers that we would say we expect it to be less than last year. I don't know. We'll leave that to Steve and the odds makers in Vegas. It really is pretty interesting. I've watched it. I was expecting it to be more, honestly, but so we'll see if we end up about even or maybe slightly ahead. And that's everything. Unless you guys have questions, I'm happy to.
Cheryl, I apologize for not being able to remember. Could you refresh my memory? What's NOS again?
Not otherwise specified.
Okay.
So there's a category in the tariff that lists like, if it's not this, or if it's this, there's a whole litany of
Right, okay,
commodities that they put into that category,
right,
so,
got it.
yeah.
You want to say something?
Any further questions for Cheryl? Thank you, Cheryl.
Sure. So Steve wants me to talk about the budget for just 2 seconds, Ames. I'll be brief, I promise. So Steve and I went through the process. We were directed by OMB and the mayor's office to provide 3 budgets scenarios. One was a flat budget, which would be exactly what we had last year. Another one was a 2% cut and a 4% cut. So we managed to get all of those scenarios on paper. And it ended up that we received direction to go with the 2% cut. So the overall amount that you see for our budget, that's like 16, well, the 21 million, we don't count depreciation. So it's about between 15 and 16, I don't have the exact number. We were required to take a 2% cut. So we had to sharpen our pencil, so to speak. But we recommended cuts to the municipality's dividend. So that was accepted. The 2% cut was accepted.
I know, I'm sitting here going, good for you. That's the MISA. Is that MISA?
So no, MISA is set out by code, so that's the total calculation. And
Okay.
because the PCT went on to the net book value report, so I don't want to like get too complicated, but you know, when you have assets that come out of construction and
Right.
go on to your books, that increases your asset value. So the
Right.
port's asset value was increased by about $180 million.
Yeah, that's a chunk.
Right, so then we were able to, one of the exemptions you're allowed to take is any part of that asset that was funded with contributions, which, as we said, we only had to finance $20 million, 18.8. So the only amount that went on to our net book, you're able to take the contributed asset as an exemption. So we were able to write down, of that 180, we were able to write down about 160.
Right down there.
So, yeah, so then the net book value increased 20 million, which increased the MISA, which we are paying $300,000 more in MISA. But then in an effort to come up with the cuts, you know, we just kind of, you know, we talked among ourselves and felt like, you know, if the whole municipality was anticipated to take a 2% or 4% cut in their budget, then, you know, in theory, that dividend is used as a contribution from us to support general government services. So their services should go down as well.
Right.
So that was our story,
And it worked?
and it worked.
It worked.
So,
For you.
so like I said, that's kind of a, you know, not a Reader's Digest story, but you know, it's an effort to be part of the group, but you know, also keep our interests at heart.
Yeah.
Well managed. Good.
Okay, all right, I think that's it.
Great, thank you, Cheryl. Jim?
Hello. So we've had a busy couple of months. Most thing is we've been wrapping up our first, I guess, grant writing season, the first half of the grant writing season. So in the grant world, right now we have $5 million that Senator Murkowski has put in as, we'll call it congressionally delegated spending, i.e. earmark. And that has made the cuts. We won't find out about that probably until the beginning of, probably in January is when we'll find out about it. But we're anticipating $5 million. From that, we have PIDP, MPDG, infra, mega grant applications. All of them are in for $102.5 million. It's 4 different grant applications. It's really one pile of money we're after for the cargo docks. We've just asked for several sources to give Department of Transportation some opportunities to fund it in different ways. But those grants are outstanding. And when are we expecting to hear about this, Sarah? Is it December, November? Okay. We actually had the administrator from MARAD here yesterday, and she played her cards very, very closely and did not let out a hint.
I'm surprised they still talk to us.
But it's a whole different crowd.
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
And nobody who's here now was part of the
Right, I was about to say, okay.
criminal activity that took place. Shit, I said that on the record, didn't I?
Yeah, it was.
Part of that group.
Yeah.
So we also applied for, and last week found out we got almost $11 million in Defense Community Infrastructure Program money for the storm drains that Mike was talking about earlier. So that money is coming down. We've got funding from Alaska DOT through the feds for our Track J access road that we're hoping to build next summer. So that project is cooking. And then the other one that's outstanding right now is we have a DOT Protect grant for just under $500,000 that we're in the running for, that we're going to use for basically an intelligent, it'll be for an electrical meter study and intelligent power system design, control system for the port microgrid. We should find out about that soon. So those are the grants that are cooking right now. We have 3 more grants that we're in the process of working on. One is a SMART grant, which will be more of the microgrid related controls. We have a Diesel Emission Reduction Act grant that we're working on, and an EPA Clean Ports application that we're expecting to be announced in January. Both of those are going to be working toward expanding our backup power system and reducing our carbon footprint. We're hoping to have a demonstration project for a couple of hydrogen-powered hostlers, yard trucks, sometime next year, and that may include a small hydrogen production plant here at the port, so that we'll be manufacturing the fuel right here. So those are cooking. In terms of projects that we have going, the projects that are going this year, we are working on the initial microgrid installation and speccing out the battery that will be bought next year. We are in the process of replacing our whole access control system. So everybody's proxy cards are going to be, you'll have to be replacing those probably in the next 3 months. We'll let you know exactly when. The old proxy cards will go away, and the new system will be a much more secure system. It's got better cybersecurity. You'll have pictures that don't look like your high school graduation picture. Sorry. At the same time we're doing that project, we're also working on replacing the microwave radio mesh communications that all of our security systems use around the port. So that system's being upgraded, and some CCTV control upgrades that are going on. And then we've got a bunch of projects teed up for next season. It's going to be a very busy construction area, in addition to everything that John's doing to try to make it hard to operate at the port. We're going to really mess up the area around the security center. I forgot one of the grants that we did get. We got our port security grant. We got somewhere on here. Yeah. Yes, $367,000. It's going to replace our basically the guard shack at the entry and the front gate. So we're going to replace that with a structure that's not about to fall apart, and that will actually keep the operator safe. So that project, we got the money. That project will be built next summer. I keep adding things to Mike's.
The next summer.
Yeah. And then the other security pieces that are going on will include, there's the Track J access road that comes out right by the security center. We're going to be installing the batteries hopefully next summer for the microgrid. We are doing a bunch of drainage upgrades around Roger Graves Road and the security center. We will be, as part of an overall replacement project, we have to replace the screening tent, and the new screening building will have to move slightly so that it works with the new Track J road and the drainage improvements we're making. So that will happen next summer. We are hoping to expand the security center because we've run out of space over there. And then we're also going to be putting the new sand tent and warm storage facility over in that neck of the woods. So it's going to be a really busy little area next summer. And that's, I guess the one other thing we should mention is that we've had quite the visitor season. The star attraction was probably Secretary of Transportation Buttigieg, but we've had, I think, weekly senior elected officials and agency heads, right down to yesterday, the head of MARAD here.
Every DOT administrator was here in town yesterday, and we, not only maritime administrator, the FTA administrator was down here, the FRA administrator was down here.
Is national DOT or
Yeah.
state?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, national,
Federal.
yeah, US DOT. So,
Was there a conference or were they just?
yeah, there was a
logging?
conference at the Denida Center, I forget the name of it.
Yeah, because I
But they
think
were
I
here
saw it.
for, it was a native Alaskan
Right.
related thing, and it's for 3 days. Today is meetings with all the tribes.
Right.
Yeah, but they had some time yesterday, in the afternoon, and somebody said, you should come down and see the port. Which is about as much notice as we get, that kind of group is gonna come down.
And you're like, oh my God. Yeah.
So, yeah, yesterday was
But
I can't believe we're all still talking to each other. Yesterday was one of those days.
I'm glad I didn't go yell at them for not wearing safety vests. You were the only one with a safety vest yesterday.
But I didn't let anybody out walking around where the traffic was.
Yeah, but they were down at the end of the dock.
You should have yelled at them.
I did.
Should have hit one of them, damn it.
I was in the checker box, but
All right, well, thank you. That's good exposure for us, for our project. Anytime we can get a DOT official to take a look at it, why that's, at least it goes in their memory bank. I must apologize, I haven't read the correspondence received by the commission on the PIPIA memo from AAPA. Steve, can you help us on that?
Okay, well, let's just officially say there's no old business.
Yes, okay, no old business. We said that officially.
And I think we have a commissioner with a question for Jim Ace.
the proxy card replacement, is there gonna be a timeline overlap because we got 300 longshoremen?
Yes, we are right now in the process of installing the equipment that we're going to need. We are going to have, I guess, a troubleshooting session where we're going to replace the proxy cards for port security staff and port staff will be the guinea pigs to work through the system, work any bugs out of it. Once we have the system down, we're going to announce a rolling enrollment period where folks can come in to get their new cards. The critical piece of information is anybody who has a TWIC needs to figure out what their TWIC PIN number is, because you'll need to enter your PIN number when you're making your card update.
That's gonna be fun for you.
And Paul's response is a very common response we're discovering. So you will make your life much easier if you can figure out what your PIN number is. And if we can share that so that everybody's starting to figure out what their PIN number is, it's a number that you made up when you registered for your TWIC.
How many digits?
4.
Oh, do you see that one is like.
It's getting better.
So, but basically, when you're updating your card, you're not going to tell it to us. You're going to enter it into a keypad to migrate your TWIC information into the new proxy card. So that's the one catch, is everybody needs to figure out what their TWIC PIN is.
Jim, this is Aves. Will you loop in the Alaska Trucking Association on that information? Be sure that they have the information about the TWIC cards and the proxy cards.
Yes, we are absolutely going to do that. It's probably going to be a couple of weeks because I want to figure out what other bugs that we don't know about yet, and then we'll address them all at once.
But yes, as soon as possible to give them time to gear up for it.
Absolutely. And this will, we could actually do the card switch over fairly quickly, but for the sake of order and sanity, we're going to stretch it out over a couple of months just so that nobody's overwhelmed and to give people a chance to find their numbers.
Yeah.
And Jim, as I recall, isn't there an expiration date on the TWIC card? Are they issued for a specific period of time?
Yes.
So
every
time you renew your TWIC, you'll need a new proxy card.
No, that's not true. Part of the deal is because we'll be tracking your TWIC card. We always know when your TWIC card has been renewed, and then we're marrying that information with your proxy card. So one of the improvements of the new system is when you come in, right now, we check the TWIC canceled card list once a week to find out if any of our cards have been canceled, any Port of Alaska affiliated cards. Under the new system, you will be checked every time you come in through the front gate. It'll be a live check. So if we have a trick card holder goes out and does something criminal on Tuesday night, and then he or she shows up at work on Wednesday morning, has been flagged as having their card suspended, we will know right away.
All right, very good. Thank you. Anything else on this item?
Jim, you said support staff will do the first. Are the commissioners support staff, or are we going to be in the realm of everyone else?
Right now, I do not have commissioners in the first round.
I'm just asking since we're here.
Basically, we thought we would do it with people who are going to be in the vicinity of the security building just for convenience.
If you put me in the first round, I can explain it to all the longshoremen.
I will do that.
That's probably a good one.
That is an excellent idea, Chris. Thank you.
It's taking one for the team.
My wife, I'm unemployed because I can't go back to the board. So. Can't figure out my.
All right, Steve, APPA. AAPA. Got my initials.
All right, so I'll go ahead and I'll take the lead on that. And item 9 dovetails nicely into item 10. So I'll just monopolize the conversation for both of those.
Yes, sir.
Here's what happened. The American Association of Port Authorities, who is the U.S. advocate for the port industry in Washington, D.C., they're lobbyists as much as they are anything else for the port industry, has taken on the initiative of creating a document that they call the Port Infrastructure Permitting Empowerment Act. And the audience for this is the Maritime Administration, because when it comes to IIJA and all federal grants and the increases in the size of the amounts of money in these grant programs, MARAD has responsibility for all of those federal grants that apply to only ports. PIDP being the big one, and a couple of smaller peripheral ones. So after a couple of years of watching how the process has been going and fielding concerns and complaints from the port industry, AAPA put together what they believe is a set of requests and remedies to make the process more efficient and allow more ports to be able to get what they need out of these grant programs, as opposed to finding themselves ineligible because of all these tiny little loose ends that they're unable to tie up. So they created this Port Infrastructure Permitting Empowerment Act document that they have reached out to the port industry to request advocacy for from Congress. And they found 2 Congress people who would support and advocate and take this to the Hill, and one of them is Congresswoman Mary Peltola, and the other is a compatriot of hers, I think from Washington State, Brian Mast. So they've reached out to all of us, and they've asked the port, the port directors and CEOs and the like to sign on to a mass letter, which we have all done. But then they also asked us to reach out to those other entities from which a letter could serve some value as support for the program. So my first inclination was to come to you guys and see if the port commission would be willing to sign a letter of support that we would take and send to Congresswoman Peltola on behalf of the Anchorage Port Commission. So this is a draft. I plagiarized greatly from the one that AAPA recommended because they cover all the bases. And I sort of tweaked it a little bit to fit us here at home. So I hope you can find that in there. And on behalf of AAPA and this port, I'm asking the Port Commission to see your way to having the chair sign this letter on behalf of the Port Commission so that we can send it into Congresswoman Peltola to show support for this effort.
Is there a motion to support this letter?
Where is it?
Did you get it? Oh, okay.
Stephanie
Okay.
came in late, so she didn't get one.
Yes. Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
Read it, we have a motion to support it.
Well, we can move to approve, and then the rest of the time is move to approve in second, and then you can have all the conversation you want.
That's exactly what we're gonna do, Steve.
I'll go approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
Have,
Can you give us 5 minutes to read it and make sure we know?
I have a question.
Stephanie,
Thanks, Abe, sorry. On the categorical exclusions, and we're talking about an exclusion to NEPA process, thinking that through, trying to apply it to a situation that we have, would like, the work that we do around making sure we're not out there when the belugas are out there. How would that, just using that as a test case, how would, how that would fit into the categorical exclusions or not?
well, let's look at NEPA and the Marine Mammal Protection Act.
Oh, that's
Okay.
right. Okay, it's the marine mammal. Thank you. Thank you for that clarification. Okay.
Any conditions put on our permitting for the beluga whale will be as
The marine mammal,
from the Marine Mammal Protection Act. With respect to NEPA, there are none. And with respect to NEPA critical habitat, there really are none, because we did get a categorical exclusion for military and economic reasons from having to put any new restrictions on port operations because of the critical habitat aspect of up here in Norfolk Inland. So we sort of got a pass on that. That one might be one that we'd have to give some thought to whether or not it would apply to us.
Right.
Yeah. Our big concern is the way things are done now is you got to go to the Corps of Engineers and NIMS and you file a legal document. Then you get one of these grants and you got to do another one. So you're doing two.
Right. Got it.
There's no such thing as fast track for these NEPA things.
Right now, having been through,
the delay, and it's not so much a delay in your ability to get construction, that's the NOAA NIMS permit. Once you have that, you can get the show on the road. But if you don't have it with respect to the grant, then you can't start spending that money or getting reimbursed for that money until you do.
Got it.
Yeah, so it's, yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that we weren't.
And there's a ton of those little traps, as if you read every one of these categories here. There's a ton of those that we're trying to get a little bit of relief from, not cheat, not game the system, but get a little bit of flexibility in the interpretation of the rules and the enforcement of them, given the fact that, circumstances are not cut and dry for everybody.
Yep, understood.
Further questions?
Paul, I have one comment, please.
Yes, Paul.
In the second to last paragraph, just for a grammar perspective, the letter reads well, but you have second to last paragraph GDP without that being spelled out anywhere else in the letter. So
Okay,
it's understood by most, but just to keep it accurate.
spell that out.
Yep.
Further questions?
Yeah.
I would entertain a motion to approve.
Oh, you already have one. But I
Yes,
think
we
there's,
do have one. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, Dave, this is Commissioner Mackey. My question is, what exactly does this law do with a new council that is supposed to keep the permitting process moving? There's another layer of bureaucracy here that they're trying to continue moving quickly by having a law that allows them to have this new committee help them move it. I don't understand what this process does if there's a law and a new committee that we need to help push forward the permitting process if it's already a slowed process.
Well, there's no adjudication board that ports can go to. You either do things the way Merritt wants you to do them or you don't. So this gives you an opportunity to plead your case to an independent group that doesn't have skin in the game, if you will, that's supposed to be objective to help litigate some of these concerns.
Okay, I was just trying to figure out how that made things go faster if there was another step involved.
Yeah, well, it's not there yet, so it's kind of hard.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to do that. But I can say
No,
in
I'm
theory,
following now.
yeah,
Okay.
in theory, this is what's supposed to happen.
And I've got a question. The bill would cut the red tape that now prevents the Maritime Administration from quickly approving categorical exclusions for road and rail projects. What's that about?
Well, ports have road and rail projects sometimes. We don't tend to have those as often as others do. Our modernization program focuses on the docks, the marine infrastructure. But a lot of other ports, you can apply for those kinds of grants as well as other DOT grants for road and rail work on your port. So it's just to give, it's the breadth of things ports can apply for grants for that they want to get some relief.
I'm not against it by any means, I just wanted.
Yeah, no.
Are we ready for the question? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The motion passes. Please send the letter as corrected.
Okay, and Ames, here's what I'll do. My plan then is to go ahead and make that one edit and then send it to Ron, and hopefully Ron can sign it and send me back a PDF that I can forward to DC. So that'll be.
Great. That's
all
the
right.
plan. That's the plan. Thank you. All right, next item is, let me get down to my public comments. Are there any public comments to be made by anyone attending this meeting? Hearing none, public comment is closed. Court directors, closing comments. Let's go around the table.
Court director. So this is just Steve.
Yeah, now it's just my turn, Ames.
Oh, court directors, closing comments. I'm sorry.
No worries, no worries. I could have lived with not saying another word.
Do
But
you have any comments, court director?
as a matter of fact, I do, but I'll keep it brief.
Talk about a silly question. Yeah.
This is my list of things I failed to say earlier that came to my mind as I'm sitting here listening to everybody else talk. We do have a new port tenant. It's a company called Atlas Towers.
Yes.
Recall that a couple of years ago, we kind of had this same conversation with, what the hell was their name?
Oh, I don't either. I
Yeah.
should know this,
Yeah.
even I don't
With the
remember.
first-
Vertical bridge.
Vertical Bridge.
That's
Yeah,
right,
Vertical
yes.
Bridge,
Had a beach bag.
which was a company that had a contract with GCI to put a cell tower on the port. Vertical Bridge, long story short, they weren't happy with the, what they found when they went out and looked at the site. So they begged out of the responsibility. They got it from GCI. GCI found another contractor, a company called Atlas Towers, who wasn't quite as timid and who has taken this thing to a point where they're gonna, they've ordered everything they need to build the tower and have been waiting on the lease to be signed in order to pull the trigger. So some amount of work may start before the end of this season, but it will be done by next year, and there'll be a 150-foot cell tower way up at the top of the hill, down in that little swale off of where the dirt road is that goes out to our gate there by Government Hill. So they'll be putting that tower up there. They've graciously given us some room on it for some of our antenna. So we'll be selective about what we put on that thing, and it's at no cost to us that they're doing that. And we'll have a new tenant paying rent. So that's coming down the pike.
Atlas pays the rent. The GCI is leasing from Atlas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. The other thing, and it's a heads up mostly for the port users and any commissioners that might be interested in, John and I talked, and you heard that John mentioned there's a whole lot of these little things that are being considered as part of the cargo dock. And recall there's this entity called the Design Advisory Board, and the Design Advisory Board has to approve anything that is, well, they have to approve and recommend through the mayor to the Anchorage Assembly, final approval for anything that is going to affect the cost of the program by as little as $2 million and as much as 10% of the overall cost of the program. And there's nothing that costs less than $2 million anymore. So damn near everything that we're going to think about doing with respect to the design of the cargo docks, now since that's the start of the show for the foreseeable future, has to go to the Design Advisory Board. So it seems like a good idea to call a meeting to at least inform the group what is coming down the pike. None of this is probably ripe enough for prime time yet, because it's all in the design phase. But what we're trying to get, and I know Bert's on, so unless he left, just to give you a sneak preview of what's going to be covered in this meeting, is we're looking to see the level of consensus amongst the members of the Design Advisory Board to even pursuing this as we go forward. I mean, if everybody gives it the stink eye when we put it out there, then odds are it's probably not going to sail when we do this for real. What I'd like to avoid is every change to the design of this thing taking a year and a half worth of meetings with the assembly before it finally gets approved. If we can get Design Advisory Board consensus and darn near approval of all these things without a whole lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth, then this should go fast. And when we get to the 65% design point and we're able to put something out for bid for construction, that we've got a basis of design that everybody is concurrent with and nobody's going to come back later and call us out on. So this is sort of a get out in front of what, and let's find out what's controversial now before we turn WSP and GHD loose to design it, only to find out that nobody likes it or the majority don't like it. So that's the point of the meeting. It's going to be October 4th here in this very room and on that very screen for the folks that are interested in, because it's publicly noticed, as every good government agency does with everything they do, we'll publicly notice it and anybody wants to call in can call it. And I mentioned this to Paul because he and I were just chatting before the meeting, and I think you've probably gleaned from the conversation, there's a ton of stuff going on down here. We're making a lot of dust, we're making a lot of noise, that's all not bad stuff. But what I'd like to do is offer to the commissioners that we set aside part of the next commission meeting to get in our bus and drive around and go look at it all. Some of you haven't been to the PCT yet. Some of you haven't been out to the north end. So when we talk about North Extension Stabilization, step one, I can promise you what you think you see in your head is not what you're gonna see when you go out there.
I just
So,
want to be there when they blow them up.
yeah, so we'd like to take you on a drive around and show you what the heck it is we're talking about here. And, hell, there might be some storm drain stuff, big open holes in the ground that we can point to as well. But I think we owe you guys a field trip around your port so you can see what's going on. So, if you don't mind, I will, we'll skinny back on the regular agenda for the next meeting so we can set the time aside and not run into 4 o'clock in the afternoon to do this with all of you at the next meeting. So if there are violent objections to that from commissioners, let me know. Your silence I will take as tacit approval that that's a really good idea, and we'll do it. And
Sounds like a plan, Steve.
Okay.
Next item, commissioner comments. Let's start with Paul.
Good meeting. First off, thank you. I wanted to bring to the attention the commissioners and everyone. A couple months back, I brought up a safety issue I saw on the port as one of the users. Simple thing at a man basket. Other ports that had this safety cable that was on there. I noticed we didn't. So I made a call, talked to some folks. It was ultimately not required by the state of Alaska, but a little bit of research with lift technologies, and it was found that it was a relatively simple fix, and the port took it on themselves. And I noticed, I was just on a ship this weekend and they were installed. So great work. I really appreciate that. Something that's not required, but it certainly makes the man baskets a little bit safer in a risky operation anyway. So bravo Zulu to you guys, good stuff. And I wanted to just publicly acknowledge that because I think it really says a lot. Yeah, that's good.
Thank you, Paul. Next.
This is Stephanie. I'm just happy to be back. Thank you. And it feels to me like I almost never left. So thank you.
Welcome back, Stephanie.
Anyways,
Next.
Commissioner Mackey, I have no comments.
On the other side, Scott.
I don't have any comments. Thank you.
Next. Anybody else? All right, well, thank you. We need to talk.
I got one.
Dave's one question.
Comment. Peggy and I attended the memorial that Dave's put together down at the Small Boat Harbor, I guess about a month ago now. Nice job, Aves.
Thank you. Thank you. That was a real pleasure.
No, thank you for all the work you put in on it.
And I would encourage all the commissioners to go down there at the small boat launch and take a look at that Sea Services Memorial. It really turned out very well. It's a beautiful addition to that part of the port area.
Yeah.
Next item, next meeting. Steve, you got an idea for us?
Let's see, what month is this? This is September, so we're looking at November, and we run into our ever popular November challenge. Nobody wants to do this the day before Thanksgiving. So we can go the week of the November 15th, which is the week before, if that matches everybody's calendar.
That works for me, Steve.
I don't see anybody here who's saying they can't make that work, Abe. So why don't we just lock in November 15th?
Sounds like a good deal. We'll inform Ron, and if he has objections, well, we can talk about it.
Sounds good.
All right. Anything further to come before us today? I want to thank you for being here. The meeting went well, and we got some work done. So see you next time. I declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Let's do it.
Look at that, huh?
There it is. I was waiting on that the whole trip.
Sound effects and all.
Yeah. The whole meeting.